Pro Stock semifinals ready now. Bob Glidden and Don Nicholson squaring off in the run we're about to see. Nicholson, 51 years of age, in the far lane. Bob Glidden is in the near lane. Glidden winning 33 out of 35, and it's a good start with Nicholson getting out first, but here comes Glidden halfway, and at the top end, and it's Glidden pulling it away. Bob Glidden continues his remarkable success in Pro Stock competition as he beats back the challenge of 51-year-old Don Nicholson. Now we look to the Pro Stock final matching those Hoosiers, Bob Glidden and Joe Satmary. And remember, Satmary was the last man to beat Bob Glidden. He did it in May of 1978, and Glidden has not lost a race since that time. Satmary will be running in the far lane. Bob Glidden will be running in the near lane, and they are in the staging area. Pulling it out to win it. Bob Glidden, the Pro Stock champion, his 21st career victory. Only Don Prudhomme has more. Wife out of the crew chief, sons Billy and Rusty on the crew, and he's the champion.
Well, I look for the track to be better today, really, for us than yesterday. The rain certainly isn't going to hurt it any, and the cooler air is going to keep the rubber from balling up so bad, so I think it's going to be better.
The world champion Bob Glidden's in the near lane in his Plymouth Arrow, and a red lighting Joe Satmary puts his Chevrolet Camaro out of competition. The win automatically going to Glidden. He still drives around Satmary. His elapsed time, 8.55 seconds at 149 miles an hour. The man that won the Winter Nationals with this, his brand new car, the Plymouth Arrow, is Bob Glidden. Having his work cut out for him is Mark Ewell from Reno, Nevada, finishing number 8 in the world last year. No match for Bob Glidden last season. How will he do this year? Glidden carrying the big number 1 of the reigning world champion. Quite a story about Glidden. He retired a Ford that he campaigned last season that was never defeated. Came out with a brand new car, brand new combination, and won his first race. And he is in the finals of this Gator Nationals championship. 8.48 seconds, his speed 150 miles an hour.
Do you know what the national record is?
It is 8:49 as far as I know.
Well, it's not now. It's 8:48. That's what you just run, a brand new NHRA national record for Pro Stock.
That's great. We've been having a lot of trouble here getting hooked up to the track, and that's really great.
You had the shootout earlier. You sandbagging a little bit, maybe not showing everything you have?
No, not really, no. I mean, the chute came out early, but it didn't affect the ET of the run any. I was definitely trying to get lane choice by low ET. No, that did not affect the run in any way.
And this is the finals of Pro Stock Eliminator, and this is the number 1 car. Bob Glidden from Whiteland, Indiana. Glidden's competition, the team of Sox and Martin. A name practically synonymous with full-bodied stock car type drag racing. Sox and Martin coming out of the super stock ranks a few years ago. At one point in his career, back in 1971, Ronnie Sox won 6 of 8 national events. But he's against the best in the world right now, and he tried a whole shot and it failed as he left a red light on the starting line. Your winner for the 7th straight national event, Bob Glidden, 8.53 seconds, his speed 147 miles an hour, and back on the starting line. That tells the whole story. Here in instant replay, you see just how early Ronnie Sox left the starting line.
With the big number 1 on his window signifying a world championship last year, Bob Glidden proves that yes, indeed, the rest of the Pro Stockers were right. They were racing for second place. Ronnie Sox took a gamble on the line. It was his only alternative. He red lights, and here comes Bob Glidden. You've got them shaking their heads constantly. He waves to Ronnie Sox as he goes by. Ronnie gives him a big grin and a wave back. So it's an all Chrysler Corporation final, and that hasn't happened since like 1972.
Can I get him in here?
If he gets over here in a hurry, yeah, we got funny cars coming down.
Yes, sir.
You know, that's your 22nd NHRA national win.
Each win is a great win. This has been a great race for me. Come on over here.
Two good friends and kind of on the same team, really, as far as the factory's concerned.
We're on the same team until it comes on the racetrack, Doc, and we're not on the same team anymore.
How do you go
He
from
wants to win as bad as I do.
Well, congratulations to both of you. And Ronnie Sachs, you've won a lot of national event wins in the past, and you're going to have trouble with this guy before the season's over.
I'm afraid you're right.
Okay, Bob Glidden, still number one.
You're looking at the top team in all of drag racing. A man and his wife, along with their two sons, have dominated a segment of the sport so effectively it staggers the imagination. Bob and Etta Glidden today hold so many records, it's difficult to list them all. From a beginning in Superstock in the early 70s, where his main recognition resulted from a divisional title, Bob entered his first Pro Stock race at the 1972 Super Nationals in California, making it to the runner-up spot. His first major event win came in 1973 at the U.S. Nationals and started the Glidden family on a series of wins that seems to have no end. Coming into the fourth annual Cajun Nationals, Bob is number 2 on the all-time win list with a total of 22, second only to Don Prudhomme's record total of 27. Bob has also made an incredible 15 straight final round appearances in the very difficult and demanding Pro Stock category. The Pro Stock car is the ultimate drag racing machine constructed from an original factory-produced automobile. NHRA utilizes a system of weight factors to allow many different makes to be competitive. Bob Glidden has seen weight changes come and go, and it seems to have no effect on his ability to win. In fact, Glidden retired his undefeated Ford Fairmont at the end of the 1978 season, built this Plymouth Arrow, debuted at the Winter Nationals and won, then won again at the Gator Nationals. Bob entered the Cajun Nationals with additional weight added to that Arrow and is the number 1 qualifier once again.
Your win streak is uninterrupted even though you totally change equipment. How can you possibly be so consistent?
Well, we have a lot of years of experience in Pro Stock racing. We have quite a facility back in Indiana, and I have my wife, my kids. It's a family operation. I think this has helped us a lot in learning and knowing more about our car and what we do.
6 or 7 years ago, you're a line mechanic at an automobile dealership. You make up your mind to go pro racing. It must have been quite a decision for a family man.
Indeed it was. We had to make the decision as to whether we wanted to try to race, and back in those days that was a bad word to a lot of people, but we had to make our mind up as to whether we were going to race for a living or work our normal job and have a check at the end of the week.
You know, you see a lot of wives and kids helping out with the race car, putting air in the tires maybe, or pouring the fuel in the tank. Not so with your family. They're really involved mechanically.
Well, a lot of families are getting more involved in drag racing today, but our family has been involved in this for 10, 12 years. Etta, this is really all she knows. She lives, eats, sleeps this drag racing because it is our profession, and we try to do our best at it.
When the race is over, who takes everything apart?
Well, rarely do I take an engine apart. Etta or Billy or the two of them will always remove and disassemble the parts. The engine, whatever, transmissions, rear ends, and my main concern is how they go together and what goes together.
6 years ago, did you ever think you'd be on your way to becoming really a Pro Stock millionaire? You're close to that $1 million mark.
Fortunately, we are close, no. 6, 7 years ago, we were concerned about going to a race and qualifying, not how much money we were going to win.
If you were to quit right now, what do you think Etta would say?
Well, I am sure at this point, drag racing is like any other profession. After you do it and do it and do it, and live it and eat it, you would think you would like to stop and do something else. The grass always looks greener on the other side. But I think after a couple of months or 3 or 4 months, it would look different. I think she would like to go back to it.
Well, you're famous now for these quick changes in equipment from one brand to another. What do we anticipate in the future here?
Well, I don't think we'll make any major changes. We might go back to another car for one race sometime during the year, but I think we'll stick with the Chrysler.
And this Cajun Nationals could be the 9th consecutive NHRA national event victory for Bob Glidden, a record I don't think will ever be matched.
While Etta Glidden does a tremendous amount of work in the pits and in the shop at home, she also has an important function to perform on the starting line, helping out with Bob in the burnouts, orienting Bob on the racetrack, keeping tabs of the car prior to it leaving the starting line, making sure there's nothing leaking from underneath the car. Etta Glidden concentrates on that Christmas tree just as hard as her husband, Bob. In the first round of racing at the Cajun Nationals, Jim Canet of Lilburn, Georgia, drew the honor of racing against the #1 qualifier. He red-lighted away his chance for the win, and Etta Glidden showing the reaction of joy in her face as husband Bob takes another first-round win. Red light left at the starting line. Etta Glidden heads back to the pits for more work. Bob Glidden, moving into the semifinals, we met him earlier, has absolutely dominated pro stock racing for the past 2 years. In the semifinal round, it is the national record holder, Randy Humphrey, against the former record holder, Bob Glidden, carrying the big #1 on the side of his car, indicating that he won the World Championship title in pro stock last season. The Plymouth Valari against the Plymouth Arrow. Glidden with a slight lead at the middle of the track. He extends it at the finish line. Glidden winning over Humphrey 8.61 seconds to a losing 8.66. Here's how close it was. In the last stages of preparation of their Plymouth Arrow for the final round of Pro Stock Eliminator is Bob and Etta Glidden. Steve Evans is with them.
If you ask the other pro stock drivers why Bob and Etta Glidden are #1 in this business, they'll all tell you the same thing. They just flat work harder than everybody else. Glidden, do you ever stop working? Etta?
Not very often.
I mean, at home, at the races, it never ends.
No, it never ends.
I noticed you were packing the parachute. That's kind of the ultimate tribute a husband can give a wife, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm responsible for him stopping at the other end.
What else are you responsible for here preparing for this final round?
Anything that needs to be done. It's kind of a mutual thing. He handles the major mechanical chores, and then any other thing that needs to be done that I handle.
Bob, how's it look for this final round?
Well, it's going to be a close race. I think Lee went a 66, is that right?
Yeah.
And we went 61. So it's going to be whoever gets out first will most likely win the race.
Pro Stock Eliminator Finals. The classic Chevrolet versus Plymouth battle. This is the Camaro of Rare and Morrison of Arlington, Texas, driven by Lee Shepard. Lee Shepard has been in the finals 4 times at the Cajun Nationals, dating back to 1976 when he won Pro Stock Eliminator. His competition, the #1 car, Bob Glidden in the Plymouth Arrow. This marks the 3rd consecutive year he's been in the finals of Pro Stock. He won in 1977 and in 1978. In 77, Lee Shepard won Modified Eliminator right here on this same racetrack. Last year he was runner-up to Bob Glidden. He's trying this year for the upset of the meet. But it looks like Bob Glidden is stretching his lead, and at the finish line, Bob Glidden takes the win. His 9th consecutive national title, and for the 16th consecutive race in a row, Bob Glidden appears in the finals of Pro Stock Eliminator at an NHRA national event. Let's go again to Steve Evans with Bob Glidden in the winner's circle.
No man has ever done it before. I doubt any will ever do it again. Your 9th straight NHRA national event.
That's great, Steve.
It appears that if anybody's going to beat Bob Glidden, it'll have to be you. You'll have to make a mistake.
Well, this race was really close. I don't know what the numbers were on the final, but
8:59.
what was Shepard?
I don't know. 148.49 you're in.
Yes, but in the semis, he went within 400 of us. So, this was a close race.
And just recently, they added weight to this car. NHRA did. Took some weight off the other cars, and you're still in the winner's circle. I know you were frustrated by that, but it must feel good now.
It always feels good to win, but it feels good to win.
Are you going to stay with the Plymouth? You talked about maybe going back to the Ford.
Ed and we'll have to discuss that next week and make our mind up. I don't know yet.
It's always Etta. She really is your teammate.
Well, she's not really the teammate. She sees more of what goes on than I do. You know, I'm in the car. I'm going down the racetrack. And she really has a better handle on what we should or shouldn't do. So I have to consult with her no matter what we do.
Before we see those funny cars, take a look at this Pro Stock competition. This is Lombardo driving one of those Pro Stocks, extensively reworked. They run with carburetors. They use gasoline. That's Bob Glidden, who is 1. 9 straight times. The last time he was defeated was right here in Columbus, Ohio, a year ago. Lombardo has squared off against Bob Glidden 6 times and been defeated by him each time. Bob Glidden seeking his 24th major crown in the National Hot Rod Association. There's the Grumpy Jenkins Camaro nearest to you. Bob Glidden on the outside, ready for the start. Remember, Lombardo was a hole shot expert. He really comes off that light, and he does. Pulls away. He has the advantage. Lombardo's out in front. They're even. Glidden is coming back at the line. Glidden wins it. Bob Glidden pulls it off after trailing at the start. Let's look at it again and replay, Carl.
There's that patented Lombardo hole shot, and as they come out here, you can see that he's amassing about a 1-car lead right off the starting line, but the Bob Glidden power makes it up, and he's got the car length advantage down at the finish.
The man that has dominated the Pro Stock circuit, Bob Glidden, at the wheel of his Plymouth Arrow, carrying the world champion's big number 1. Both cars into the staging beams, and a red light start for Glidden. Iaconio, the winner, the crowd stunned into disbelief for the 2nd time in a row at a major NHRA championship. Bob Glidden, red lights away. Overcome with excitement, the fans and officials just cannot believe that Frank Iaconio from Totowa, New Jersey, the hometown boy, defeats Bob Glidden in the final. The red lights start, giving the win automatically to Iaconio. Concentration so hard on the Christmas tree, he is still in disbelief that he won the race as he gets out of his car, the turnaround area here at Raceway Park.
Well, this race is always a special race for me because I live here, but yes, this year is even more so because of the significance of the 25th year.
Pro Stock Eliminator, the tops in engineering in drag racing. These are the factory hot rods, utilizing a car as delivered from the factory, but with lots of modifications. The engines, though, are limited to 2 4-barrel carburetors, and they must run on gasoline. This is the Chevrolet Camaro of Kevin Roddy from Tucson, Arizona. And has he got a tough component? The world champion, Bob Glidden, the low qualifier at the Silver Anniversary Nationals. Creeping into the staging beams comes Glidden, concentrating on that electronic starting device known as the Christmas tree. The wheels high in the air for Roddy, and maybe a few inches lead for Roddy at that point in the track. But at the finish line, it's Glidden by about a car length. Wife Etta, the crew chief on Bob Glidden's car, looking on as Bob Glidden pulls out another win and moves into the finals. The one-liners may be flying in the funny car pit area, but at the starting line, it's serious business as we're ready for the finals of Pro Stock Eliminator. Number 1 in the world last year was Bob Glidden. He has currently got a tremendous lead in the World Championship points chase this year. He converted from his Ford last season to the new Plymouth Arrow. Number 2 in the world was Larry Lombardo, driving for Bill Jenkins. And here it is in the finals, number 1 and 2 in the final at the U.S. National. And a red light start for Larry Lombardo. He knew he had to take a chance at the Christmas tree. The red light putting him automatically out of competition. So your winner is Bob Glidden. For the 7th time in a row in the finals, Bob Glidden has defeated Larry Lombardo with an 8.61 second elapsed time. Let's go to Steve, who's with Bob right now.
Well, Larry Lombardo pushed the lights a little too hard that time and came up with a red one. Congratulations. The Indiana fans loved it.
Thank you very much. This was a hard win for us. This has been really a tough week. We've had 3 engines in the car on and off and engines apart. All these guys really made it tough out here. All the pro cars were close.
Thank you, Bob. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
The Pro Stock title stays in Indiana.
The Chevrolet of Rare and Morrison from Arlington, Texas. Lee Shepard doing the driving against Bob Glidden, the defending world champion. In fact, he is the 1979 world champ, having wrapped up the title before the world finals ever got underway. For the 15th straight time, Bob Glidden has qualified in the number 1 position. The lane just as tricky, that right-hand lane for the Pro Stock cars, as it is for the higher horsepower entries. And Glidden, with a quicker elapsed time the previous round, uses every bit of his horsepower in that Plymouth Arrow to his advantage as he takes the measure of Lee Shepard, 8.60. So he will have lane choice going into the finals against Frank Iaconio. Here you see a close race for the first 100 foot or so, and then it is Bob Glidden all the way to the finish.
Frank Iaconio.
While the funny cars get ready, it's time for the finals in Pro Stock. Wearing the big number 1 is the Plymouth Arrow of Bob Glidden, signifying he's the defending world champion, and he's also the new world champ, having wrapped up that title before ever coming to Ontario in the World Finals. He's racing against the only man to beat him this year, Frank Iaconio from Totowa, New Jersey, in the Chevy Camaro. And a hole shot for Iaconio puts him about a foot ahead of Glidden. Can he hold on for the win? Oh, what a close race to the finish. And it's Bob Glidden who wins it. A tremendous close race. 8.65 seconds. The winning time for Glidden, 8.74 seconds. Almost a tenth of a second slower. But a lot quicker off the starting line was Frank Iaconio. At the finish, though, it's where it's important, and that's where Bob Glidden gets first by just a matter of inches.
Dave Bob Glidden trying to shed himself of all of the safety equipment. You can see the sturdy roll cage built in this car that houses a man who has broken yet another record, drag racing's first ever 5-time world champion. Congratulations.
Thank you, Steve.
We had to race for this one.
Oh, those guys are terrible on me. I tell you, Iaconio was really tough on me.
They're really the only guys that have beaten you with any consistency at all.
Well, they've got their car, their performance is really good, and Iaconio is quite a driver.
Well, congratulations to you, Etta, the boys. It's great. 5 times world champ, Bob Glidden.
Thank you.
You bet.